Hello and welcome back to the Hazzabhajan YouTube channel. It is Harry here, and today it is time to continue on with the football alphabet series as we move into the second vowel that we have covered in this series thus far, that being the letter O. And like all of the videos in this series so far, or actually come to think of it, most of them, because some letters are really annoying and meant I had to combine the clubs and the players into one video, I'm looking at U and X. We're looking at the best clubs whose names begin with the letter O. Like I always say, you know it's coming, but if you have missed any of the episodes thus far, the player's link is in the description down below. And whilst you're there, if you enjoy the video, hit the like and hit the subscribe if you have not done so already. And without any further ado, let's have a look at my Hall of Fame of the best clubs whose names begin with the letter O. Number 1. Olympiacos. A club who celebrated their 96th birthday just 12 days ago as of the time of this recording, Olympiacos are the most successful team in Greece by a country mile, and its name was proposed by a senior officer in the Hellenic army, with its crest symbolising the Olympic wreath, since the Olympics always used to be held, of course, in ancient Greece. The club came into being in 1925, with its primary aim being, to quote Greek City Times, the systematic cultivation and development of its athletes' possibilities for participation in athletic competitions, close quote, as well as promoting sportsmanship and good ethics. The former worked out very well, but the latter, let's just say, a little bit less so. In recent times, they have been accused of corrupting the league and the referees of the league to make them referee games in their favour, but the Greek courts have ruled it out on a regular basis. One such example, of which there are plenty that I could have chosen, took place in 2011, when Djibril Cissé, then of Olympiacos' bitter rivals Panathinaikos, swore to leave the club at the end of the season after alleging that a game against Olympiacos, which they won 2-1, was refereed with a clear bias towards the Piraeus outfit, only to be beaten up by Olympiacos fans immediately after speaking to the club's owner, Angelos Marinakis. The Greek courts threw out that particular case, and they have treated Olympiacos fairly kindly over the previous couple of decades or so, leading to yet more suspicion as to whether or not they are winning their titles by nefarious means. Nefarious or not, they won a staggering 45 Greek Super League titles, winning 7 in a row on 2 separate occasions between 1997 and 2003, and again between 2011 and 2017, and 5 in a row 5 times, the only club in world football to ever achieve such a feat. And when they hit that record in 2015, they received a letter of congratulations from now disgraced ex-FIFA president Sepp Blatter. For context, the other Greek teams have won a combined total of 39 league titles between them, just to further emphasise the hegemony Olympiacos have had over Hellenic football, and they have won 28 Greek Cups to boot, although unlike Panathinaikos, they have never reached a European final, with their best run coming in 1998-99 when they reached the quarterfinals of the Champions League, only to lose over 2 legs to Juventus. Number 2. Orlando Pirates. A club who live up to their name by having a skull and crossbones as the primary feature of their badge, they decided upon this after club officials watched a pirate film in a Johannesburg cinema and were impressed by the tenacity of the pirates, and so they chose a skull and crossbones to make them feared by their opponents. And if you're thinking that sounds a little bit suspicious, this information was obtained from the club's official website, so I think it's pretty true. Founded in 1937 by a man who was nicknamed Pele Pele, the youngsters who turned out for the club had to play in bare feet, although when they left it, Pele Pele dubbed them as Ama Pirates, and so it was decided that they would add the suffix of Pirates to their official club name. During the amateur era of South African football, they were one of the most successful sides, winning cup trophies on a regular basis, including a hat-trick of Robertson Cups between 1950 and 1952. And whilst they have slowed down somewhat since professionalism was introduced into South Africa, they still hold their own in terms of trophies won. However, they inadvertently played a part in the foundation of their fiercest rivals, namely Kaizer Chiefs, in 1970, as their player Kaizer Moatong formed an Invitational 11 in 1969 and was pressured to turn it into a real team, and he severed all ties with the Pirates in order to form the Chiefs. Unfortunately for the Pirates, they've won 3 fewer championships since 1971 than the Chiefs had, with 9 league titles to their name to date, with 4 of them coming in during the era of the South African Premier Soccer League, although they are titleless since 2012. One thing that they do have over their bitter rivals is that they have won the African Champions League, with their success coming back in 1995, whereas the Chiefs have failed to do so up until now, and the team nicknamed the Happy People will surely be beaming from ear to ear until the Chiefs finally get their hands on that particular trophy as a form of one-upmanship. Number 3. Olympia. For clarity, I'm referring to the Club Deportivo Olympia that are based in Honduras, as opposed to the Club Olympia of Paraguay, although both do hold the distinction of never having been relegated from their respective domestic leagues. When the Honduran Olympia, the focus of this particular video, was established in 1912, it was actually intended to be a baseball team, and given that baseball was the most popular sport in Honduras at the time, such a move makes sense, but as the general populace started to turn to football, so too did Olympia, making the transition permanent in 1917. They only started to come into prominence in 1957 as they won their first amateur league title, although by the time of the professional era of Honduran football came about in 1964, they'd won a further 7 championships and looked well set for the professional era. Ever since then, it has been nothing short of national domination as they have picked up 32 league championships, including the truncated 2020-21 Apertura, to lift their number of league trophies to a massive 15 more than their closest challengers, and indeed fiercest rivals, in the form of Motagua. Furthermore, they are the only Honduran side to win the CONCACAF Champions League twice, as they won it in 1972 and 1988, with the former match seeing them face the brilliantly named SB Robin Hood of Suriname in the final. I apologise for not covering them in the R segment of this particular series. They would also lift the inaugural CONCACAF League in 2017, the equivalent of the Europa League for clubs in North America, and the most high-profile player who I could find who has played for them is former Wigan and Tottenham defensive midfielder Wilson Palacios. Number 4. Omonia. Even though the letter O may seem like a bit of a rogue letter for football clubs, especially given the potential calibre of some of the inclusions in this video, we still find space for 2 clubs who were the most successful in their respective countries, namely Olympiacos of Greece and Olympia of Honduras, and one who are second in their country, in the form of Omonia Nicosia. Armenia were the products of a political movement that swept across Cyprus in the late 1940s, as Apoel Nicosia, now Ammonia's fierce rivals, ostracised several of the players from their squad after the club committed to putting an end to the quote-unquote communist mutiny that was racing through the country, and from that, those players went away and formed Ammonia in 1948. They originally joined the Amateur Football Federation upon their creation, but within 5 years, having won every cup and all but one league title during that time, they were finally accepted into the professional game. Although I said they are the second most successful team in Cyprus behind Apoel, ever since Ammonia's acceptance into the Cypriot First League in 1953, it is in fact the team who are nicknamed the Queens, the Shamrocks and the Greens, amongst a couple of other interesting nicknames, who have won more league titles in this time frame, with 20 compared to Apoel's 19. However, the club has been without a league title since 2010, and last season, just as it seemed as though they had their best chance to end their 10-year hoodoo, the COVID-19 pandemic meant that the season was cancelled outright, with no league winners being declared, as Ammonia sat atop the league, albeit only on head-to-head record, above Anathorsis Famagusta. They could very easily have gone under though, as in 2013, the club were in serious financial trouble and were only saved as a result of a crowdfunding campaign from their president, encouraging current and former players to sign autographs and sell club merchandise, and fans to raise some money themselves, and within 1.5 months, they raised a whopping $3.5 million, which was enough to keep them afloat and competing at the very top of the Cypriot game. Indeed, they haven't finished below 5th in over 60 years. Number 5. Once Caldas. Although I'm aware that Osasuna are probably better than Once Caldas, I decided to try to avoid clubs from the top 5 leagues for this particular video, so instead we head over to Colombia for our final team. Once Caldas is the result of a merger of 2 clubs back in 1959, namely Once Deportivo and Deportes Caldas, as both of them went defunct, and the club officials of both of them, through a mediator, came to a compromise of combining the 2 instead of reviving one and leaving the other one to rot. Within 2 seasons, they had gained a place in the Campeonato Profesional and finished in 7th place, although by 1971 they had run into financial difficulties and had to rename themselves Cristal Caldas as a result of the Caldas alcohol industry taking over the club. This was one of 7 different names that they have had since 1971, including the likes of Varta Caldas after the German car battery company of the same name took control, Once Caldas, which is their original name and what they've been called since 1996, and Once Philips, given that the Dutch electronic company Philips, them of PSV Eindhoven fame, became the majority owners of the club, as you probably might have guessed. They hold the perhaps unwanted distinction of having won the most points in a Colombian league season without actually coming in first, as in 1998 they accrued a staggering 125 points across the course of 50 games, but they ended up being thrashed 4-0 by Deportivo Cali in the final playoff round. However, they've won the league 3 times to date, with 2 Aperturos coming in 2003 and 2009 and a Clausura arriving in 2011, although they reached the pinnacle of South American football back in 2004 as they defied all the odds to go all the way in the Copa Libertadores, beating Boca Juniors on penalties in the final. However, despite having won the league and the continental competition, they have never won the Copa Colombia, with 2 runners-up finishes in 2008 and 2018 the best that they have ever mustered, which was bizarre to me at least. That just about wraps up today's video on the best clubs whose names begin with the letter O. Of course, if you missed any of the episodes thus far, like I said at the start, the playlist link is in the description, and if you enjoyed it, hit the like, hit the subscribe, ring the bell so you get notified whenever I upload a video straight away, and you can comment if you want because it helps, or so I'm told, I don't know. But anyway, thank you very much for watching, and until next time, I'll see you then.